Hi everybody, this is Justina with JustynaTHandMade. Welcome to my channel. I hope you are a returning viewer and if that you are already subscribed. If not, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you do enjoy this video at any point, please make sure to give it a like. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to create this cute little zippy coin purse. As you can see, it looks very similar to the Zippy pencil case, but there is a little twist to it. Not only we have our front zipper pocket, but on the back we have a credit card slot pocket. So it fits a credit card perfectly and it's secure with our little tab. Also, I created this pattern thinking about staying in a hotel and that you would like to have some little purse that you can take with you to the pool. So you can use this little packet not only for a credit card, but also for the hotel room key. So you have it nice and secure with you. And in the front, you have space for some cash and some coins, and everything you need to have a great day at the pool is with you. Also, as an option, you can add a little screw back rivet D-ring hardware, but this is optional. If you want the little purse to attach to your keychain on your back, you can just use the zipper pull, or if you do have some hardware similar to this, you can use it. Also, you can just install a small grommet to serve as an opening for your keychain ring. So as you can see, this is a tiny project. It comes together real quick. In this zippy pattern, I'm not using the jelly vinyl. I'm using a regular vinyl to show you that you can create those zippy projects if you don't have a jelly vinyl with just a regular vinyl, and they're equally pretty and practical. Major difference between this version of the zippy pouch and the pencil case is that we are using lining. So you would need some non-frame material for the lining. I'm using ripstop nylon fabric, but you can use some water resistant or waterproof canvas as well. This little pattern will be available for free in my Facebook group for limited time only. So make sure, if you like the project, to join my Facebook group, or to visit the Facebook group if you're already a member, to grab a free copy of this pattern. If you watching the video later, this pattern will be available in my Etsy store, and I will include the link in the description below. So now, if you want to see if this pattern is something you like, and if you want to make one, you can watch me creating this cute pink version of it. So please keep watching. And to start our project, we're gonna prep all our pattern pieces and supplies. So first we're gonna cut panel A, and I made all my cuts for my little pocket and for the top, also for my zipper. Then I have panel B for my front pocket. I have panel C for my top closure for the back pocket. I have a piece of ripstop nylon fabric cut for my back pocket, and another piece cut to size for the front pocket lining. Also, I have a piece of zipper. This is zipper number 5. The measurements will be provided in a cut list. To help me with my project, I just have a generic card. This is Yvonne's club members card that I haven't used for years, so this just sits in my drawer. Also, I'm gonna use some double-sided tape. I like to use the 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape because it's easily to put it in a place that I won't be sewing through, so it's not gonna make my needle sticky. Also, I'm gonna be using some plastic snaps to create a closure for my back pocket, and this is optional, but you can use scallop pinking shears for the seam allowance trim, so you're gonna have a nice scallop edge. If you don't have scallop pinking shears, you can just use regular shears to trim the final seam allowance. This is just an option. And I'm going to be using a polyester thread. You can use polyester, nylon thread, something that can be melted. You just want to be able to secure your thread's tails, and that's why I would not recommend cotton thread. Now that we have everything ready, we're gonna start with attaching our zipper pocket lining to our zipper. So we can put everything else on the side. And at this point, you wanna keep your zipper pull direction in mind. You're gonna be attaching your lining only to the upper edge of your zipper. So if you want your pocket to be closing with the zipper pull on the left, make sure you have the same layout as I have here. This is the right side of my lining. There's really no right or wrong side on the nylon ripstock, but if you are using something that has a right side, you want to make sure that your lining is right side up, and the shorter edge of the lining is the top edge. So now that you have that established, you're going to be sewing the zipper tape onto your lining with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and through the project I'm going to be using 3.5 stitch length, so all my seams gonna have the same stitch length. Just pay attention to the seam allowance size. So now clip this together, take it to the machine, and sew the zipper tape onto your lining, making sure the lining is right side up and the zipper is coil side up, and sew with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and back stitch on the beginning and on the end of your seam. Now that my zipper is sewn into my lining, I'm gonna now sew the zipper tape inside of my zipper opening. So I'm gonna take my main panel A, place it in this direction because we're gonna fold it over to create our little coin purse. This is the front of our project. Also, now if you are using a pinking shears to trim your seam allowance, you can trim this edge to give it a scalloped look. And now that we have our panel ready, we're gonna use some double-sided tape to help us affix the zipper tape inside of our zipper opening. And now that you have your zipper affix in your main outer panel, we're gonna top stitch around the zipper opening, but you want to make sure that your lining is out of the way. So when you are top stitching around the opening, make sure the lining is out of the way. And now you're going to be sewing with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. So now take it to the machine, make sure your lining is out of the way, and top stitch the zipper onto your panel A. Now that our zipper is sewn in, we're gonna attach the clear vinyl panel B along our scalloped edge. So again, you want to make sure your lining is out of the way. You can also use some double-sided tape. And now you're gonna make sure that the panel is covered by the vinyl panel completely. You're gonna overlap at about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. You want to make sure it looks nice and straight on the back side. So now that you have your panels connected, secured together, we're gonna take the project back to the machine and we're gonna sew along the scalloped edge, and we're gonna be sewing with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. And if you have a deeper scallops, just increase the seam allowance a little bit to make sure you're gonna be sewing on the solid part of your panel A. Now that we have our front panel connected, and also a note that I start my seam about 1/8 to 1/4 of the side edge, because like I said, we're gonna trim the final seam allowance. So just keep that in mind. All right, so now that we have basically the front of our pouch prepped ready, we're gonna move on to creating our pocket. So again, you're gonna be using some double-sided tape. Take the double-sided tape and place a piece underneath the cut. Take the other piece of lining and making sure you have it right side down. Place it about 1/4 of an inch below the cut. So this should be the right side of your lining, and you have your lining attached underneath the cut. When you have that done, you're gonna take your project to the machine and you're gonna sew along the cut with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Make sure you are sewing underneath the cut, so closer to the bottom edge, and that your lining at this point stays in the up position. So take it to the machine and top stitch along the cut with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that your lining is attached to the back pocket, you're gonna flip it over, finger press it, or you can take it to the ironing board if you need to. Just be careful because you're working with vinyls. And you're gonna use a generic card just for references. You're gonna insert it as deep as you think you would like the card to go, making sure that you have some space left for your tab, so it's not gonna cover the slit for your tab. And when you have the card placed, just slowly flip your project over. Now, using double-sided tape, we're gonna create the pocket. So you wanna place double-sided tape along the other side of the opening. I'm gonna remove the backing, making sure my card is nice and straight. I'm gonna now fold my lining over and secure it to the tape. Move my project over, make sure I like the depth. I think I like it a little deeper, so I'm gonna insert the card a little more. So now that I have my packet secured, I'm gonna take my project back to the machine, remove the card, making sure my lining now stays on the sewn part of my packet. And now I'm gonna take my project to the machine and I'm gonna top stitch on the other side of the slit with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, back stitching on the beginning and on the end of my seam. Now that I have my lining attached, I'm gonna trim the extra fabric. And now I'm ready to move on to work on my top. So we're gonna take panel C that we cut for the top. I decided to do it from a contrasting fabric to match my hardware. So I'm gonna fold it in half and top stitch along those two long edges and the folded edge. You can use some double-sided tape to make sure your fabrics won't shift. And when you have your panel prepped, you're gonna take it to the machine and top stitch along those three edges with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that you have your little top stitch, we're gonna install our snap. As you can see, I selected this turquoise color of the snap. So you're gonna take the cap of your snap and choose a right and wrong side because you want the better side to be on top. Take your snap and making sure that you have about 1/4 of an inch left on the bottom of your top, so you can grab onto it to open it. Push the top through the fabric. If you can't do it, you can use a tool to create a hole. And now we're gonna install the female part of the snap. And now that we have that done, we're gonna install our top inside of our little slit. So you're gonna place the top inside of the slit, making sure it's about 3/8 of an inch inside. You don't want it to go over the zipper tape because that's where our project will fold in half. And now you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the slit with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Make sure to back stitch well on the beginning and on the end of your seam. As an option, you can also add a rivet, just add some bling to your project. When you have that prepped, take it to the machine and sew your top onto your panel A. Now that I have my top secure in my little slit and I added a smaller rivet, now I'm gonna install the male part of my snap. So you want to make sure you have the pocket nicely aligned and transfer the placement of the female part of the snap onto your panel. Now you want to make sure you are poking a hole only in the outer fabric and install the male part of the snap. So now that we have our elements attached to our main panel, now we're gonna trim the lining. You're gonna now fold the project, making sure your back panel and your front panel align. Make sure that you are pleased with the way your project is looking, that your top fold looks nice and straight. That's the most important thing, because we're going to be trimming the seam allowance, so you want to make sure that your top looks nice and straight, that the back is looking good. And now you're going to take it back to the machine and you're going to sew following the shape of the front outer. So you're going to be sewing along this edge, following the curve from one side to the other. You're going to be sewing with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. I would suggest to use a zipper foot to make sure you have nice and close access to the zipper. Also, if you feel you need to trim your zipper tape, now it's a good time. I probably should. So trim your zipper tape if it's needed, or on either end, and then take it to the machine and sew along this edge with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. If you are not going to add the scallop edge to your project, you can decrease the seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch. Just leave yourself enough space on the seam allowance to be able to give it a nice trim after your project is sewn together. Now that my final seam is completed, I'm gonna use my pinking shears to trim the seam allowance. And now my project is completed. I have a little coin pocket in the front, and on the back I have a card slot to keep my card, and my little wallet is ready to use. Your little coin purse is now ready to use. You have a space on the back for your credit card. It would be also great if you are staying in a hotel and you want to go to the pool. You can just put your hotel key in here as well. And then if you are planning on purchasing some beverages at the pool, you will have space for your cash. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you give the project a go. If you do, please make sure to share it with me on social media. The Facebook group link and my Instagram is listed in the description below. Also, please make sure to like the video, and if you are not yet a subscriber, to subscribe. That really helps my channel. So if you want me to produce more video, please be sure to be active on YouTube with my channel. Till the next time.